Hi everyone, my name is Leo and with this video we will share a direct comparison between the Anagram, the NAM player, the Stomp Station and the Valeton GP200 that are all NAM loaders. First of all, we will compare the features and technical characteristics of the 4 units with a very detailed comparison chart. Then we will hear more sounds also comparing these 4 units versus a real tube amp and also performing our beloved null test. So I hope you enjoy and please subscribe and ring the bell as this video took me a lot of time. Let's start. We will now compare the 4 units among the parameters shown in the screen, like IRs, I/O, etc. First of all, in the NAM player we can load 2 NAM profiles at a time and the profiles are loaded and run natively, I mean with no conversion versus our initial NAM profile. In the Anagram we can load 3 NAM profiles, also in parallel, as we will see later on when discussing the signal chain management. Also the Anagram, like the NAM player, loads NAM profiles natively, but in the Anagram they use the Mike Oliphant version of the NAM loader, which should consume less DSP power, according to what Darkglass told me. The Sonu Lab Stomp Station allows us to load 1 NAM profile, but it is converted in a specific Sonu Lab internal format. Also the Valeton converts NAM profiles in its own proprietary format. And the Valeton allows us to load 2 NAM profiles at a time, one in the amp block and another one in the distortion block. Furthermore, the Valeton has a full set of amp models, as it is also a modeler. More specifically, we have 71 amps and 70 cabs, with 5 amps and 10 cabs dedicated to the bass guitar. Of course, we will check out the quality of the NAM profiles loaded and managed by each device in the null test section of this video. As regards third-party IRs, all the unit allows us to load third-party IRs. The Valeton at 1024 sample points, the Sonu Lab at 1024, the Anagram at 24,000 sample points and the NAM player at 4,096. So here of course the Anagram is a bit surprising. This is what Darkglass told me. The loader actually does not set a limit on IR length and it is able to process even longer files. The software suite will set a limit when importing, but now it does not limit, but will soon, so that we can predict the CPU consumption. The limit set will likely be 200 to 500 milliseconds, that means respectively 9,600 to 24,000 sample points, but it is not confirmed yet. In terms of number of presets, we have 128 presets in the NAM player, 126 in the Anagram, 16 in the Stomp Station and 256 in the GP200. Let's now talk about effects and effects chain management. The NAM player is pretty straightforward. We have basically our NAM profiles, a noise gate, an EQ, a convolution reverb and a delay. The chain is fixed, I mean we cannot change the order of the effects or replicate many times the same effect. The Anagram has 2 parallel rows of effects, each with 12 blocks, that we can arrange in whatever position we want and with the possibility to replicate many times the same effect. The number of effects for each category is mentioned in the screen. The Stomp Station is kind of similar to the NAM player, with 7 effect blocks and with one of them dedicated specifically to the volume of the preset. The Valeton has 11 blocks of effects that we can arrange in whatever position we want, but we cannot replicate the same effect many times. So summarizing, I would say that the Anagram is the unit which allows us to customize our chain more extensively, with parallel effects, the possibility to change the order as we want and the possibility to load many instances of the same effect block. The Valeton is the unit with the bigger amount of effects, but it is kind of more limited compared to the Anagram in terms of signal chain complexity, as for instance we don't have parallel effects and we cannot replicate the same instance of the same effect many times. The NAM player and the Stomp Station are the most straightforward, I would say, units with less possibility to customize our signal chain. I think this is one of the most significant differentiating factors between these units. The NAM player has 1 MIDI-in, the Anagram has both in and out via mini jack, just like the Stomp Station. The Valeton has both MIDI-in and out with standard jacks. As regards inputs and outputs, the NAM player has a guitar input, balanced and unbalanced mono output, and an headphone out. The Anagram has a guitar input, balanced and unbalanced stereo output, a stereo effect loop via TRS jacks, and an headphone out. The Stomp Station has two guitar inputs, balanced stereo out, and an headphone out. Finally, the GP200 has a guitar input, balanced and unbalanced stereo out, a mono effect loop, an headphone out, and an aux in. So here, clearly, the Anagram is the most complete unit in terms of I/O, with balanced and unbalanced stereo out in separated socket, and especially it's the only unit with a stereo effect loop. As regards foot switches, the Valeton has the higher amount of foot switches, obviously, with an included expression pedal and an input for another external controller. The Stomp Station is the one with less foot switches, just one, but it has an input for an external expression pedal. The NAM player and the Anagram are kind of in the middle. In terms of screen, the NAM player has a monochrome screen. The Anagram has a 7 inches colored touchscreen. The screen of the Stomp Station is clearly very small, where the GP200 has a 4.3 inches color screen that is not touch sensitive. So the only unit with a touch-sensitive screen is the Anagram. In terms of audio interface, so far the NAM player and the Stomp Station cannot work as an audio interface, where the Anagram or the GP200 can be used as audio interfaces, even if the GP200 at only 44.1 kHz. To be noted that the Stomp Station could gain this feature with future firmware upgrades. In terms of special features, I would mention the convolution reverb available in the NAM player. I would mention that the Anagram should evolve in an hardware platform, allowing also third-party plugin developers to develop plugins for the Anagram itself. This concept is similar to the Sonum Lab, which should be considered a universal uploader, meaning that, for instance, it can become a looper or just an AR loader according to how Sonum Lab would like to evolve this unit. On the other hand, the Valeton is the only unit which could be considered a complete amp modeling pedalboards with effects, amps, 8-foot switches, etc. The Valeton and the Anagram are the two units that currently provide also looper functionalities. The GP200 is the only one with also a drum machine built in. In terms of power needs, the Stomp Station is the less power hungry. As regards dimension and weight, once again, the Stomp Station is the smaller and lighter. It's actually quite impressive how small is this unit. And finally, we have the price, where the Anagram is the most expensive, followed by the NAM player, which has currently a promotion going on. Then we have the GP200 and the Stomp Station at almost the same price. So finally, let me highlight the main differences in my opinion. First of all, I would mention the NAM profiles that it is possible to load, where the Anagram has 3 of them, the NAM player can load 2 of them, and both these units can load NAM profiles natively. Let me just point out that the NAM loader inside the Anagram is the Mike Oliphant version, which should be less DSP intensive. To be noted that the GP200 and the Stomp Station can load NAM profiles only via a conversion to a proprietary format, and that the GP200 has also amp models and quite a few of them. The second main difference is in the signal chain, where the Anagram is the only one which allows parallel signal chains and is the only one with which you can replicate many times the same effect block. Then I would mention the I/O, with the Anagram being the only one with a stereo effect loop. Also the GP200 is worth a mention, having both stereo balanced and unbalanced stereo out, but it has only a mono effect loop. I would then mention the 8-foot switches available in the GP200, which has also an included expression pedal. Then of course the Anagram is the only unit which has a touch screen. In terms of audio interface, the Anagram is the best, offering 24 bits at 48 kHz. Even if the Valeton has more USB channels, it is limited at 44.1 kHz, and I'm always recording at 48. Then of course I would mention that the Stomp Station is the lighter and cheaper unit, cheaper together with the Valeton. To be noticed that the NAM player is the best in terms of latency management, with its below 1 milliseconds latency. I didn't mention the latency here as there are some mismatches currently between my measurements and the dark glass one, therefore I would wait some firmware upgrades before measuring again the latency. Of course, these are the most meaningful differences for me, but please let me know your opinions in the comment section below. And also let me know if there are some errors or things that you would add so that together we can help other guitarists to make the right choice according to their needs. Let's now jump to the more sound section of this video to check out if we have some significant difference in terms of null tests and how these units sound. Welcome to the more sound section of this video. The first thing I would like to address is the theoretical limit of our profiles. In fact, our beloved tube amps are strange animals, and if we play the exact same lick 2 times through the same amp with the same settings, guess what? We are not gonna obtain the exact same sound. Let's try it. This is a simple chord played through a Friedman Pink Taco using a pre-recorded DI guitar track. This is the exact same chord played a second time through the same Pink Taco with the same settings, using the exact same DI track. Let's now play the 2-track phase inverted, performing the null test. And well, we are not obtaining silence, but minus 55.3 LUFS. I have done this test many times, also in different days, and I have obtained an average value of minus 53.3 LUFS. Therefore, I would say that the perfect profile of a tube amp in the null test has a theoretical limit of minus 53.3 LUFS. Let me add one more bit as regards the test settings. I have profiled a Soldano SL100 coupled with a Greenback speaker and mic'd with an SM57 using the best architecture available for NAMM and training at 1000 epochs. Then I have sent the same DI track pre-recorded in my DAW to each device, for all sending the DI track at the same level sent to the real Soldano. Of course, here we are testing the devices using their analog output, using them as we would use them in live situations. And even because I think that if you use them through their USB connection, well, it's better to use the NAMM plugin natively. Okay, let's now share the result for each profile versus the real Soldano. Let's start with the NAMM plugin versus the Soldano. So the resulting LUFS is minus 40.8. And now NAMM player versus Soldano. Resulting LUFS minus 40.3. And now Anagram versus Soldano. Minus 37.1. And now Stomp Station versus Soldano. We have a minus 33.7, and finally GP200 versus Soldano. we have minus 31.3. And now let's put everything together. We have the worst performers that are, as expected, the ones which perform non-profile conversions versus the native format, which are the GP200 and the Stomp Station. Then we have the Anagram and the NAM player. Lastly, we have the plugin, which of course offer the best performances, not having to perform any ADA conversion trip. And of course our theoretical limit is minus 53.3 LUFS, as mentioned previously. Very interesting. So here the NAM player confirms the leadership in terms of null test, and I'm curious to know if the Mike Holyfield NAM loader using the Anagram has something to do with it. If you know, please drop a message in the comment section below. Of course, the tracks are all matched in terms of LUFS and align at sample point level. This is very important. This is also why this video took me a lot of time, and I kindly ask you to subscribe and ring the bell, as it would really help me to create more videos like this, and it is totally free for you. Let's now share a less scientific test, as I will let you hear how each of the unit behaves in terms of dynamic range management and note envelope. Let's hear the test. final considerations here, and please notice that these are gonna be my personal opinions for my specific use cases. And of course you may not agree with me, and this is totally fine. Furthermore, all these units have been sent to me for free, with the exception of the NAMM player, for which I have had a big discount. This video is not paid nor sponsored, and as always I'm free to tell you whatever I want. Having said that, let me try to recap where each unit shines in my opinion, both in terms of technical characteristics and sound. On the Anagram side, we have the possibility to load 3 NAMM profiles natively. Then we have the possibility to run parallel rows of effect. We also have the possibility to load the same effect block many times. We have a touchscreen and the audio interface that is the only one that allows us to record at 48 kHz and 24 bits. On the NAMM player side, we have the possibility to load 2 NAMM profiles natively. Yes, they are less than the Anagram, but still it is a great possibility. Then I would add that the NAMM player is the one that performed better compared to all the other units in terms of null test and latency. I would say that the NAMM player is all about sound and latency performance. With the mono out, no freeze, and more in general, it is all oriented to offer the best technical performances. The GP200 is of course the only unit to offer a complete all-around average solution with 8 full switches, a complete set of modeled amps and caps, effects, an included expression pedal, etc. But it does not perform like the Anagram or the NAMM player in the null test versus a real tube amp. That's why I used the word average. With the GP200 we have a bit of everything, even if not at the highest level, for instance in terms of null test, as I said previously. And finally, the Stomp Station shines for its compactness, of course. I mean, look at how small it is. I would also mention that so far this is the best unit I have ever tried in terms of NAMM profiles converted to proprietary format. I would also mention another interesting aspect, I think. Both the Anagram and the GP200 can be a complete solution for a gig, at least for my needs. I mean, I can bring with me one of the two and perform a full gig without anything else. On the other hand, both the NAMM player and the Stomp Station would need other devices to allow me to play live. For instance, adding a stereo chorus and delay to both the units. Having already myself a pretty interesting collection of other effect pedals, of course I can use the NAMM player to be my solution in order to substitute my real amp, thanks to its best technical performances in terms of fidelity to real amps and latency. Lastly, the Stomp Station, with its compactness, is the perfect solution for practicing or in all those situations where you want to travel lightly, still having your favorite amps at your disposal in terms of NAMM profiles. In terms of price and features, of course the GP200 is hard to beat, but as we have seen, the Anagram has really a package of features for which honestly it is worth investing the money you have to spend, in my opinion. The NAMM player is still good in terms of value for money, especially if you already have other pedals with which you can complete your ampless pedalboard. Lastly, let me say that I'm really happy that the number of devices to adopt NAMM is growing, because first of all, NAMM performances are great in terms of fidelity versus the real amp, and second, I love the NAMM training procedure, with the possibility we all have to customize it by our own, as it is open source. And I have done a video where I explain how we can change it and even improve it if we want. But now it's your turn. Please let me know your precious and valuable opinions in the comment section below. I'm really curious to know which unit you prefer and why, so that together we can help other guitarists to buy the right product according to their needs. We have now reached the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, ring the notification bell and leave a thumb up, as it would be of great help. If you're interested in my IRs, Ortonix profile or NAMM profiles, you can check out the link in the card above or description below, where there is also a link to a playlist of songs of mine. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.